Привет из Дубая. С вами передача «Голубь мира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите период в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about bacteria and let's start with the definition.
Bacteria, maybe it's the smallest part of organic life we meet in our life, which could interfere with our health. There are several small creatures which could be very dangerous or even deadly ones. This is bacteria, viruses, and spores. Bacteria usually lives in a water or in, I don't know how to say, par. What,
Team.
sorry, steam. Yes, steamship. Yeah, or in steam. If there is not enough water, the lack of water, bacteria could become a spore and stay in a dry form. And another form of living which is dangerous is virus. It's something between live and unlive nature. But now we're talking about bacteria. If you are staying in some country where you was born, you have no fear for bacteria because your ancestors, your mother milk were preparing you to fight against these bacteria. But when you travel a lot, when you put your hands on some rails, in a tram, in airplane, or for example some boats, you will be catching some bacteria, and if you will forget to wash your hands, or maybe you will put your finger in your ear or in nose, in eye, you will get like an infection, and these bacteria could fall you to very hard diseases. Some of them could be deadly ones. And when you stay, for example, in Africa, if you are staying in very far away countries like New Zealand, you should be aware of this.
And when it actually comes to, like changing our environment, maybe it's like a country or maybe circumstances that we've been putting into, like, should we consider some sort of like a decompression or maybe adaptation period in order to play safe? Because probably it seems that, like these days we can travel more or less. And I do believe the world of the bacteria, if we can call it like this, it's also developing. So is there like any way to be able to adjust? Because given that, like let's say there might be like a viruses or whatever, humanity actually might find a way to survive even better by trying to, like neglect the danger of some like a lethal bacteria.
If you earn enough and you are going to five-star cohorts, it's okay to say cohorts, resorts.
Resorts.
Resort, sorry, you will meet completely clean areas, everything sanitized. If you will go to Dubai or Singapore or maybe Macau, you will meet also everything is completely clean. The same as Germany, Japan, and so on. But if you will go some other places which are below your usual level of life, you will meet very dangerous things. For example, I will tell you two countries. First is Nepal. When you will try to drink milk of, I don't know how to say, yak, this huge bull, but very domestic one.
It could be yak or oaks, probably.
Yes, maybe yak or ox. Yes, ox. Maybe it's like a kind of bull. Yes, those animals has a milk which are quite in use for local people, and they has no dangerous. But if you will drink it for a very first time, even fresh one, you will have so-called stomach flu. It will go maybe like for one week if you will stop drinking immediately. The same, there is a name, even has a name. It's like curse of pharaohs in Egypt. If you will drink just usual water from the pipe in your kitchen, you will be also having some problems. And this is well-known phenomenon, and it's also was even proclaimed in some stories about invaders were trying to capture Egypt, but suddenly they have so many diseases that they was defeated. So in some places you will have it. When I was working in Japan or in Germany, some people, which was my coworkers. They came to Kiev, and they do not want to buy something from the shop because this chicken in shop were looking like a dead blue. The milk was in so not colorful bottles, and bread was so gray that they don't want to deal with it. And we were going to the central market of Kiev, and it was like Bessarabka market. And by the way, this is Bessarabka, this is region in Moldova. So we were buying like goat cheese and smoked chicken and some other very funny stuff, looking good, smell good, but suddenly all of my coworkers were going to toilet and staying for long. They couldn't be on the streets, they couldn't walk around. So I found this, and when the newcomers were coming to the Kiev, I was saying, come on, we will start to eat from Vietnamese, Indian, and maybe Thai restaurant. It would be more useful and more common for your stomach, because if you'll go to Russian restaurant, if you'll go to Ukrainian restaurant, something would be not so clean as you suggest to have. For example, in German and Japanese restaurants, a lot of sous chefs and chefs, they wear gloves, Rubbermaid, and they never touch by hands. But in Ukrainian culture, in Russian culture, we think that it's not so useful. And we have even explanation. For example, if the chef work with some food and will touch fridge, I don't know how to say this, rail on the fridge, it could be dirty. If you'll touch it by the hand, you will understand and you'll clean it. But if you touch it by the glove, you wouldn't understand. So there's another kind of culture. So these bacteria which lives on the table, on the knife, on the cutting boards, on our hands, it's quite usual for us, but not for people who live very far away.
And since we were talking about the food, so I do remember that again, like at one of the skills you were saying something, let's say about the yogurt. So when you actually consume bacteria, so that it could help like another type of the bacteria to be cultivated in your stomach. So when it comes to bacteria, kind of artificially helping to the human, I would say like maybe like the one that being domesticated, if we probably could say it this way, like what kind of the types or what kind of purposes exist and how to, let's say, embed it into our life, or it could be embedded in our life in the future so that, you know, like we could have a better life.
In American medicine, there is a saying which will be proposed to the student on the third course, and usually it says like something like this: if you think that no one loves you, think that you have maybe from 3 to 12 kilo of bacteria which live in you, and they couldn't live without you. So there is another saying that we don't know which kind of bacteria what do in our body. Yes, there is a bacteria which calls Helicobacter, which will lead us, I don't know how to say, язва.
Probably some damage to the stomach, I guess.
Yes, okay, very hard damage to the stomach. And if we will try to cure it, we will have no such a disease. There are also milk containing or milk consuming bacteria which help us. But you know, a lot of people do not know how to consume yogurts. And when I was working with Danone, suddenly I realized that I also was in this crowd. Usually, I used to eat yogurt when I was hungry. It was like a part of a meal. But French people told me, no, you're completely wrong. After you finish all your meals, you should use your yogurt to help your suggestion. Перевариванию. Suggestion?
Digestion.
The digestion, sorry. So I was thinking, what's the funny things? So this is not a separate kind of food. This is like a helper, like an inhibitor. No, помощник, как вот ингибитор это защищать, предотвращать.
It's an accelerator if it increases the speed, or inhibitor if it slows it down.
No, it's accelerators.
So, and when we look into like a different type, let's actually look into like not so friendly bacteria. Like there are so many of them. So obviously after COVID, we learned how to use, antiseptic and stuff, but still I do believe, again, like people also might be looking at different type of the weapons or whatever, try to exploit it. So how this service may look like or may look in the future, because it's not only could be a weapon, but maybe something that could trigger a weapon or something that could build a weapon as well. or build something that could damage us?
For you, it's very easy to image, but our viewers maybe will not believe us. You have been living in Singapore, so you used to see people in a mask, on face mask. And when I was back from Singapore, from Hong Kong, from China, from Japan, sometimes I also was wearing a mask, and all of my friends were laughing. Why are you so tender? Why are you want to filter this air? And I was saying, you know, sometimes it's very dangerous because some people catch a flu. Sometimes they could be, for example, dealing with dead bodies. Maybe they were working in, I don't know, some emergency and so on. And I do not want to have this disease. I don't want to catch any of those. And also I was using fingers not to press buttons, for example, in elevator, but in another part of finger. But yes, you're right. Just after COVID-19, some people realize that it is a time to be more protected. But you know, our world became smaller and smaller, and we will use the cheapest materials in planes, in trains, in some other stuff. And when it was time that this was not for many people, for example, not too many people were driving in, I don't know how to say, carets, in cabs.
In cabs.
In cabs, in cars, and so on. But now there is a lot of so-called low costers, which will help you fly with $20 across the ocean. So in these cases, you will meet more and more people which do not wash the hands because they do not use. They work with chickens, with concrete, with wood, and they think, okay, it's just quite usual. When you live in the forest, in a 2 weeks, suddenly you will realize that you're not washing your hands. You know, that is very strange. Maybe I need some of your help. But in Russian and Ukrainian village, there is a separate small building for toilet outside of the house. And when you're coming to your relative for very first day, okay, you will use these napkins and you will be very careful. But after 2 weeks, you can go even with coffee in this toilet, and you will be not washing the hands after you visit it. So you should be aware of this. By the way, several days ago, I was on the meeting in the Ministry of Transport Affairs, and there was a very dangerous information that new made cars, its name Auris, it has in this airflow system dangerous substance which exceed in 600 times norm which could contain healthy air. So these bacteria could live in mechanism like ventilation or conditioning system of the car.
Well, and what is the future of bacteria? Because probably humanity will try to, get more and more space, and they will try to maybe optimize everything and somehow develop their bodies or develop the systems that actually would help to optimize whatever they have and eliminate the, the danger of or threats from like anything which is not related to its thriving. So what is the future of bacteria?
You know, I will tell you a short story. I was in Africa. It was like maybe 11 years ago or 12. And suddenly there was a huge disease and everyone was asked to be going out of this area. And I was going through some checkpoint and there was some medical guys who was checking skin and temperature, and something was looking in the nose, mouth and eyes, and suddenly he asked me, are you from Soviet Union? Have you been vaccinated during your scholarship time? I told him yes, and he suddenly told me, you could stay, there is nothing dangerous for you. And I was so thankful to my country, which no longer exists. I was already vaccinated with some stuff. So I am, after this time, I'm deeply sure that we should in a peaceful time put some vaccine to get our bodies used to some bacteria, to when we will meet them in a dangerous situation, maybe we will stay alive, because our immune system is looks like a Wikipedia, and if it knows kind of bacteria or viruses, it could find. But if it couldn't know, it couldn't find. So if you have a detection system and fact system in your immune one, so you could stay healthy.
And this is actually a nice answer on how to knowing about bacteria and how to make alliances or maybe waging a wars with them would help to make this world a better place. А мы рассмотрели навык бактерий и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира!